headline, I got to be honest, Ken, it caught me off guard. Jim Carrey came out of retirement because he needs money?
Oh, yeah.
Well, apparently he's not the only one. Al Pacino, Hugh Grant, Nicolas Cage, Harrison Ford, these folks, if they can't retire with all the cash that they've made, how can the average American? I want to bring in now Matson Money founder, CEO Mark Matson. And Mark, what is going on? Listen, we saw Mike Tyson. Like, we knew Mike Tyson had to take the fight and maybe not win the fight, but he was in a dire situation. No one thought Jim Carrey was in that situation. And people are looking at this like, how can I ever retire if these guys can't retire?
Well, it's a very difficult thing to do for apparently not only normal everyday Americans, but for celebrities. And it's because of the nature of money itself.
Celebrities are no more.
Money can't make you happy. If you look throughout history, you can see people like Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, Prince, John Belushi. Howard Hughes, at the time, the richest person on the planet. They were very miserable, very unhappy. You had Jim Carrey said, I have enough, I've done enough, I am enough, but apparently he doesn't have enough. And he's going to have to go back and work like many people that go into the retirement thinking they have enough, and they don't.
So, and we know, to your point, more people are working longer, they're coming back out of retirement. So is it a myth? I mean, is there a path to really retiring comfortably?
Okay. I've been an actor now for 10 years. I'm 36 years old. So I started around 26. That's about the time I stopped playing football legitimately. This is not surprising to me. This is very real. There was another video that actually just released of Jeffrey Owens, who is, he's working. And not too long ago, a couple years ago, I believe it was, some people ran into him at Trader Joe's. They were taking pictures of him and whatnot. They put it out there that this actor who was on the Cosby Show he's working in a regular job. Yo, it's such a bad rap that actors get for working regular jobs. I am starting this series, this podcast, to hopefully, God willing, I would like to completely end the disillusion about what it's like to be an actor. Actors create a facade. It's part of their goal. It's part of their goal to seem larger than life. Because, why in the hell would you leave your home to go watch somebody perform? You would only do it because you believe this person is larger than life and they're about to do something so breathtaking in this film that you're leaving your house at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., skipping dinner or eating dinner at the movie theater, and you're gonna go watch this person perform for 2 to 3 hours, and you're gonna go spend $50. It used to be like a ticket used to be like $10 when I was younger. Now you're gonna pay $20 a ticket. I said 50. I'm tripping. You're gonna go pay $20 a ticket for you, 20 for your date. If you're getting dinner, let's say you go to the iPic. I used to personally spend like $100 a night if I'm going to the iPic for my wife and I. So seeing this brings things back to life, back to normal. We are all on equal footing. He said something in this video that I don't think I can repeat verbatim, but he said something about how are regular citizens or regular people supposed to, if regular people can't retire, how are, something along those lines. Actors are regular people, man. They regular people, dog. Let's talk about the money. And then after we talk about the money, let's talk about working out a regular job. Let's talk about having a regular job. Jim Carrey probably thought he could say what he said at the time, that he said it because the man has had hits. He's had some really amazing films. He had a string of, I'll say, 10, 15, maybe even 20 years where he was that guy. Number one guy, box office. I would have to pull up, let's pull up here. Let's pull up Jim Carrey box office income. And let's see if I can get a number of some of his biggest collectively, a comedian and actor whose films have collectively grossed over $4.88 billion worldwide. His films. Everybody who worked on those films, cast and crew, they all got to get paid out in that. So this right here that I pulled up is telling me what the movie made, what the movies he's been in have made, not what he made in the films. That's fine. I don't need it. Put it like this. Robert Downey Jr. is one of the highest, well-paid, probably one of the best paid actors in our day and age, in our time. He's been stringing Marvel along for the longest, since he's been playing Iron Man. There aren't too many Robert Downey Jr.'s. In our day and age, there is a reason why there's always this 1%. There's the 1%, then there's the 10%, and then you get on to the people, the regular people. That's us. That's me and you. Okay? Robert Downey Jr. is able to he's able to sustain his finances, but he keeps working. Despite the fact that he made, say, 20 million on that one Marvel film, and another 20 on that one, and now, if I'm not mistaken, on one of these, he close to 100. He continues to work. You have to. There are certain states that it benefits you to be able to live in that state because you spend less money. But a lot of these actors live in California because it's the capital of filmmaking. I know people want to say that it's Atlanta, but it's not. Atlanta's getting there, but Atlanta's not the capital of filmmaking. Atlanta is the stepsister of filmmaking. Atlanta at some point will be its own version of LA, but it will never be Los Angeles. It won't be a Los Angeles. And if it ever does, I'll be the first one to make a video about that. But okay, let's talk about living in Los Angeles. And it's not even just about living in Los Angeles. I don't care where you live, but I'm going to use Los Angeles as an example. Okay, you're an actor. I'll use me. I worked on Grey's Anatomy. When I first got out here, I booked Grey's Anatomy. One of the proudest moments of my life. It was a 1-episode guest star, and this is why I say Atlanta won't be Los Angeles. Peep game. You book a 1-episode guest star. First of all, it's hard to book a 1-episode guest star in Atlanta. There are certain restrictions that happen state to state based on SAG and just based on how the game works. Okay, it's political. But a 1-episode guest star, you don't make what you make for it here in Los Angeles, what you would make for it in Atlanta. But the differences in each state is how you make money and how your money is taxed. So as an actor, I booked Grey's Anatomy, and I had one rep at the time. I had a manager. And this is a whole nother story for a whole nother day, but at the time, my manager was charging me 15%. That is not common. That is not okay. That's not how it should go, but I'll talk about that in another video. So I made $10,000 for this one job. There is no other guest star that you're going to book. I don't care if you South Florida, Atlanta, maybe New York. You don't really make that kind of money for a guest star unless you're like very, very, very well established. They mess around and book somebody like Jim Carrey on a guest star, they're going to pay him a lot of money. Okay? But little old me who just got to Los Angeles, I had just left Atlanta. I'm coming from Florida to Atlanta to LA. They're going to run me. That's why the manager was getting me for 15%. So automatically, let's talk about this. So federal taxes. Federal taxes off the top of my head, I think taxes are about like 10 to 33%, something in that range, right? A person like Jim Carrey, he's definitely on the higher end of the tax scale because there's no way he's not getting like 6 figures on every job he does. But you got federal taxes. I didn't know what California state taxes were. I was born and raised in South Florida. There are no state taxes in South Florida. I moved to Atlanta for a year, but I really didn't book any real work in Atlanta. I booked a bunch of co-stars in Atlanta. I was not able to pay any real bills in Atlanta. I never saw myself as a real professional actor when I was in Atlanta because of the fact that I barely worked. So I never noticed the Atlanta state taxes as well. Atlanta state taxes are just a lot less than California state taxes. California state taxes, if I'm not mistaken, about 10 to 13%, somewhere in that range. It's very high, extremely high. One of the highest in the entire country. Add to that, these are the side things. You got sales tax, you got gas tax out here, but I'm just kind of bringing those up. I don't even need to talk about those right now. Let's just go federal and state taxes. That's already a lot of money. Then on top of that, add my manager. That's 15%. So now, I done basically said that's about, let's go 30 with federal. Let's go, I'm cutting some of these short. Let's go 30 with federal. Let's go 10 with state. And then let's go 15 with my rep at the time. That is 55. If I'm not mistaken, off the top of my head, that's 55%. I didn't expect that to happen. All I saw when I first booked this was that I was about to get $10,000. So ultimately, that $10,000 quickly turned into around $4,000. That's how much money I got back. So that's about how much you would get if you were living in Atlanta and you booked, say, a recurring co-star. So automatically, that was just my first moment where I was like, okay, that's weird. The hell going on? After that, my manager connects me with an agent, but my manager did not change the amount of money that he was charging me. So my manager's still making 15. Agent is now getting 10. So now that's 25%. That's a whole nother tax, right? So the next job I book How I Met Your Father, then I book Rap Shit. And on How I Met Your Father, I booked a conditional guest star. The condition was based on the second season. They were going to bring me on as a series regular. And then I was slated to make somewhere between like, I think about $50,000 an episode was what I was going to make in the next season. And I was slated to be working about, they went to 20 episodes that next season. And the contract had me slated to work 14 episodes. So I would have made about $700,000 on How I Met Your Father. And then on Rap Shit, I was a recurring guest star that first year. And as a recurring guest star, Grey's Anatomy is a 1-hour show. I got 10,000. Rap Shit is a half-hour show, comedy. And so I got around 5,000-6,000, something like that. Pretty sure these are all minimums, right? Because I just got here. So I think I did 7 episodes of Rap Shit. 7 episodes of Rap Shit. I had 2 episodes of How I Met Your Father. It was a pretty good year financially speaking, but reason why I'm even bringing all that up. And that's just the first year. The next year, all of those numbers multiplied, okay? Because I did become a series regular, just not on How I Met Your Father. I became a series regular on Rap Shit. And I'll talk about that in another video. Only reason I'm bringing this up is to say this. Just because I would have been making $700,000 a season, that doesn't mean I can retire in the slightest. It sounds so good. It sounds so promising. It does not mean that at all. Because remember what I said at the very beginning of this video. Federal, state. These other actors have more than just a manager, an actor. When you start looking at actors on IMDb Pro, you'll see these actors' affiliations, who they're affiliated with, their teams, who they got on board. And some of the big name actors, they probably have certain deals worked out to where they make so much money, they don't just give 10%. They can probably work it out with their team. Anybody could, really. It's a matter of your team saying, okay, but sometimes that's how much energy they're going to give you too. If you say, can I give you 5%? They're going to start giving you 5% or less of their energy and their time. But another conversation for another day. Anyways, so I say that to say, you got somebody like Jim Carrey. Now, somebody like Jim Carrey, there's no way in hell he's making $50,000 an episode. All right, let's be clear. If he's on a show, he was just on a show called Kidding. Let's see if I can look up his contract. What was Jim Carrey's contract on Kidding on Showtime? Let's see if that comes up. Specific details about contract disclosed. However, it's not disclosed. First contract to receive $20 million salary for the cable guy. Okay, it doesn't say, but it does say that Jim Carrey is the first comic actor to receive an upfront $20 million salary for cable guy in 1996. He was making that in 1996. All right, it's 2024 now. So we are 28 years from that time. $20 million in 1996, pretty amazing. But again, let's look at that 20 million. Somebody like Jim Carrey is liable to have a manager, an agent. Now let's say both of them are getting 10%. So 20 million, that means his manager gets 2 million from that film. His agent gets 2 million. Now he's down to 16. Federal, he's definitely in the higher tax bracket, so that's about 33. And state. To make this easier on myself though, let's go and make these numbers divisible by 10. So let's say 30 for the federal, and then let's say 10 for state. That makes 40%. That makes 60% in total when you add the manager and the agent. A lot of these bigger actors don't just have managers and agents. They tend to also have lawyers who sometimes will make 5% of how much you make, or that number can change depending on how good your lawyer is or how cocky they are. A lot of these actors will also have public relations teams, PR. that number can be all kinds of crazy. Okay, I had a PR team. That is something that I will talk about in another video. I would never, ever, ever in my life ever invest in a PR team. Ever, 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 never again. It's not a bad investment for the right actor, but for the wrong actor at the wrong time, it will wipe your resources dry. But so right now we're at 60% with Jim Carrey's 20 million. 60%. So automatically his 20 million has now been cut down from 20 down to 8 million. That's already very savage. Now, where does he live? He lives in Los Angeles. I've already decided this, but I do know that he lives in Los Angeles. Los Angeles has a mansion tax to add to that. So now, that's one movie in 1996. Okay, don't know how many different movies he's done in 1996, but, you know, essentially what this means is after you divvy up all those subtractions, he's probably got about $6 million. Okay, you got your mansion tax, property tax, like I said, sales tax, gas tax. PR, that number can vary. It's not just always a percentage depending on how you do it. A lot of people with PR, it's a set rate, and they're going to get PR. They're the people that are getting you into the rooms, into the doors, into the parties that you get to go to. They're the ones who are putting out your news, your information. When you see all the different information that's going out with legacy media, when they're talking about the Democrats, legacy media, when they're talking about the Republicans, each side has their own PR machines. So all of that costs if you're an actor. Because if you're an actor, you're now putting out your own publications about you, about your work, about what you're doing behind the scenes. So it's kind of important because you're branding yourself as this larger than life figure. That's where people get this idea of like, wow, man, that's where they get the backstory to find out that this happened and that happened. So these costs are useful. They're valuable without a doubt, but they absolutely eat at the salary. They eat at your ability to retire. So me personally, I believe that if you have when you're at a level like Jim Carrey, you got to be mindful of what you're investing in for certain, but you can't stop working. You can never stop working. Just because you made, say, 6 million on that film, you cannot stop working because he makes, let's say, 6 million, 7, 8 million on that film. There's no way in hell he's living in some random apartment complex. He's for sure gonna get a house that costs about 4, 5, 6, 7 million. Now you got to go get another gig, another movie to make sure that you can pay for that house. You can pay the insurance on that house, the property taxes on that house. These states, every single state, they're trying to find a way to still charge you. You know, there are certain states that are different. You know, a lot of people are moving to Texas, but Texas got a lot of different little taxes too, where they can kind of catch up and get that money back from you, you know. But there are certain states that don't. There are certain states like Tennessee that don't have a state tax, but they got a higher sales tax, you know. Florida doesn't have that state tax. I don't know how they supplement it, but they got a different way to get that money from you. Ultimately, when it boils down to it, first of all, there doesn't need to be any shame on this. I think part of the only reason why this is a big conversation is the fact that Jim Carrey has made like statements about how he's enough and he doesn't need to and he wants to retire and so on and so forth. Probably would have been a better story if he comes back and he just says, I just want to work again. I miss it. I miss it. Now it's probably a better story. To hear that he's coming back for money doesn't make it necessarily the best story. Don't know how that story even got out. Don't know if he's got a PR team right now. I didn't go and do research on Jim Carrey before this. I really am jumping in and doing this video because I want to talk about the fact that actors do need to work. Just because actors make this money, like when Taraji P. Henson was talking about this and people were confused about how is it that she ain't got enough money, and it costs so much money to do this. It costs so much money to do this and nobody's talking about what it costs. Financially speaking, emotionally speaking, spiritually speaking, nobody's talking about that because everybody wants to continue with the facade that they've created. I do appreciate Taraji for being bold enough to say what she said because she just went ahead and got rid of the veneer. She got rid of the veil of like, I'm this. I don't think she could. I personally, I don't think she would have did that if she felt like, you know, she could have held on to it. but I don't think she could hold on to it anymore. It was so heavy on her, she cried. That's how heavy it was. She felt like she needed to be paid more for Color Purple because she doesn't feel like she should be doing all of the things she's trying to do. When you look at people look at somebody like Issa Rae, it would appear like she's just so paid. Especially when you look at like one of the contracts she got, like her biggest deal was like a deal with Max, HBO Max, when she got her overall deal. It was like a $40 million deal or something like that. I don't know. Ton of money on the outside looking in. But on a year-to-year basis, if you got paid one time from the company, you got paid, you're getting this contract, this salary that's $40 million. First of all, because it's an overall deal, they're not just letting you do all these other things over here and these other things over here and these other things over here and these other things over here. And that's why she then put out through her PR that I kind of miss being able to just do my own thing and so on and so forth. But when you look at somebody like her, she still got side businesses. She still got side hustles. They just dressed up and they just look different. She just started a whole restaurant. She already got like a coffee shop that popped up in I think she got like 3 or 4 of them in LA. She got a hair care line called Sienna Naturals. She got a whole management company called Color Creative. She got a music supervising company called Hooray. And she got a wine company called Via Ray. This is to supplement income. And those companies are in some ways probably to make up for some of the money she's got to pay her PR company, managers, agents, etc. This business just looked good on the outside looking in. And it's not that it ain't good. It's still good. It's still an opportunity. I've made more money on, say, just one of the shows that I've been on. I ain't worked on Grey's Anatomy, but one episode. Took me about 3-4 days to knock those episodes out. 2 to 3 days, I think. I made more money on that show, even after the taxes, than my mom can make for a month working at her job as a nurse. Okay? So it's still money, but it depends on where you live. It depends on how you live. It depends on what your expenses is. All of these things matter. And so seeing these actors are coming back to work, it's more of a story for people to kind of look at and gawk at and be like, look at these actors. Then it is a surprise. Everybody has to work. Jim Carrey, I don't care how much he made on one film. It would never be enough to just stop working completely. It would never, ever be enough. Unless the man that made $1 billion, $2 billion on one movie, there's no way. And I would still need to check that to see if that billion would be enough. Because once you really divvy it up on a year-to-year basis, once you put your expenses in there, once you add your creative expenses in there as well, once you add the new expenses, California, they add in taxes. Something just came out earlier today about how California is changing something about certain insurance policies to where now you're going to be paying a little bit more for like some fire insurance that they're about to implement through insurance companies. There are certain states that make it harder for you to really make your money last and make your money stretch. So it's not even just about California. Even if you live in Vegas where they ain't got no state tax, in Texas where they ain't got no state tax, but they got property, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, I don't care where you stay. It's going to be hard to make that money stretch. The only way to make your money stretch is to keep making money and to invest money and invest it well. I don't know if Jim Carrey has been investing and those other people, Hugh Grant, Al Pacino, I don't know if they've been investing. There are plenty of people who don't really get caught up in investing because it's not necessarily guaranteed either. It's also another gamble. So a lot of them would rather gamble on themselves, But ultimately, I just say all this to say the misconception of thinking that the actor and acting is just such a red carpet business, is just such an untouchable business. Throw it away. It's ridiculous. It's not true. Acting full on is about appearing like this, appearing to be greater than one is, appearing to be this paragon of perfection. But that ain't how it really goes nowhere. No way, no how. So seeing that these guys are working, first of all, there needs to not be any shame that they're coming back to work. Could the story have been put out differently? Absolutely. You know, it doesn't look that good when it's on Fox and Fox is talking about it like, how is anybody else going to retire if they can't? My goodness. I get their tone though. I get that they're shocked, especially if Jim Carrey is saying, I'm good. I'm enough. You are enough, but your finances will never be enough. They'll never be enough. How do you know that you got enough that you can actually pass away? That's the only way you know that's the only way there can be enough. If you can pass away and there's still money there. But how do you know that that's going to happen? It's got to be based on certain investments that you make, and you don't even know if those investments can mess around and go belly up at some point. So you got to just be on your P's and Q's when it comes to it. Ultimately, listen, the game is a lot more challenging than any actor sells it as. These actors are human beings. They're regular fucking people. They are all regular people. And they got more expenses than anybody else. These actors got more expenses than anybody else. And if these actors mess around and decide to have a family, dog, that's a whole different expense. I done already just cut it up for you and told you, expressed to you just how crazy it already is if you chopping it up between that rep and this rep and the lawyer and PR and then taxes and then family. It's absolutely possible that you can mess around and really after you make what you make, then you're really only getting about 25% of the pot. Why you think somebody like Kevin Hart work so hard? Kevin Hart put out a movie every year just about, a stand-up special every year just about. He go on tour every year just about. That work is consistent. He working like a damn NBA player. He's in season when he working. But when you see certain actors that you don't see them because they ain't worked in no movies that year. Trust and believe. A majority of them broke, man. A majority of them broke. Just go ahead and put it in your mind's eye right now. Put it in your mind's eye right now that if you ain't seen no actor working for 2-3 years, they ain't got it. Period and point blank, they ain't got it. They living just as regular life as you. You just see them on TV, so they just look different. But trust and believe, they really ain't got it like that. A majority of them. That's just real. At the end of the day, it ain't but 1 to 10% that really got it and still got it. It's only so many people that are really able to just live off of their residuals like that. Okay? People like all them actors that was on Friends, they probably living on their residuals because it was already making hella money on their show just based on their contract. So now when they get their residuals are based on the contract and based on the new licensing fee that they get because the show just went from this platform to that platform. Got to do a new contract, boom, boom, boom. But that contract's still based on what we was making before. So $5 million an episode, okay, it's still going to be somewhere around that number. It's going to still be close enough to where it can absolutely make the debt that it needs to make. But Jennifer Aniston, she's still working. Okay, Schwimmer, he's still working. Okay, a lot of them, they're still working. I can't name everybody on that show because I really didn't watch that show like that. Tyler Perry is probably the most paid person in this industry, and he still works. That's what he knows. At the end of the day, the actors who make the most money are the actors who know that working matters more than anything else. So I just wanted to talk about this video that I just saw because there's just such a misconception about being an actor and what that means for your pockets. It's such a misconception. People think that just because you're an actor, you just got it like that. It's a bar. If I can just spit it right now, I would love to just do it off the top of the dome, but it's Andre 3000. And he says in that song, Elevators, he runs into somebody at the mall and they say, I know that you paid. I know you paid. I know you got buku with hoes with all them songs that you done made. And I replied that I've been going through the same thing that he has. True, I got more fans than the average man, but not enough loot to last me. To the end of the week, I live by the beat like you live check to check. If it don't move your feet, then I don't eat. So we like neck to neck. We are all the same, dog. Cut it all out. Cut it out. Just because I'm an actor and you aren't, or you're an aspiring actor, that don't really put us in such a different place. The only thing that puts us in a different place is our experiences, the fact that I've been doing it for 10 years and maybe you have or have not. And that's really where the difference is. But at the end of the day, if I don't work, I ain't getting paid. If you ain't seen me, did you see me pop up in 2024? I hope you did. But I tell you right now, I booked I didn't book a job in 2024. When the strike hit in 2023, I got paid at the beginning of the year in January. That job was done by April. I booked one more job in May. Then the strike hit around May, June. I didn't work for the rest of that year. Rap Shit came out in November. I did not work for the rest of 2023. 2024 just hit. I didn't work all year. I auditioned about 80 times. I did not book a job. The jobs I did book were all independent jobs. So I got it how I could. I was getting it how I could live. Booked the editing job. I'm a multi-hyphenate. That's the whole point of this channel. I'm a multi-hyphenate, and the reason why I'm a multi-hyphenate is because there ain't no way in hell I'm about to sit around here and just wait on a rep to help me make some work. I got other ways. I didn't even come into this industry by being just an actor, so I'm not just an actor. So I supplemented the income as best as I could, but there was no way I was making up the income that I was making on How I Met Your Father and Rap Shit. That's just different kind of money, especially when you're getting taxed the way people in California get taxed, or the way people, say, in Atlanta are getting taxed. There is a state tax over there, okay? And the prices are going up over there. Atlanta isn't what it used to be 10 years ago rent-wise. The rent has gone up, and it's going up considerably. So with that, in closing, we are all the same. We are human beings. Just because somebody's an actor don't mean that they are above you, said person who's watching this, who's hearing about this. Acting is a profession. One thing actors don't be considering when they get into this profession, even if you're in a smaller market, as an actor, you are an entrepreneur. When I was a co-star and I only booked, say, 2 or 3 jobs that year that I was in Atlanta, I still made money. I was an entrepreneur. I didn't see it that way at that time, but those were just side gigs. It's just easier to call them side gigs since it ain't more than 10 grand. But those are side gigs. I'm an entrepreneur. If I made 10 grand in my little lemonade stand business, I would absolutely be coming home like, damn, look at what I did in this lemonade stand. I'm all right. But because it's in acting and I only made 10 grand, you can see the way that I even talked about it when I first started this video. I didn't see myself as a professional. It was hard for me to do that. But when I got here to Los Angeles and all of a sudden 10 grand for one episode, I'm like, come on, man. The kid, I'm out here. No, the man. You know what I'm saying? I'm a grown man now. Man. Rude awakening. As soon as I'm looking at the checks like, damn, I'm making how much? Rude awakening for me to also see how much I got to give back. So that's one of the many things that I plan to talk about on this channel. I look forward to getting into that. There's so much for me to give and say just based on what I've experienced. There's also a lot for me to learn. So, I mean, God willing, I hope I can maybe even get some people on here to have an interview with them to talk about certain things like this. But also just, I look forward to giving my experiences, sharing my experiences so that hopefully maybe I can dispel the facade that is this mythic Hollywood actor and how these Hollywood actors are just rich. And nah, dog. But listen, you got to this part of the video. I appreciate you rocking with me and really kicking it and listening. I do think this is very important information for people to really listen to, because people just don't know. Actors don't even know. Okay? So I appreciate it. If you got to this part of the video, I would appreciate it 10 times more if you decided to subscribe. Thank you so much. Looking forward to the next one. Peace.